All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to completely transform your daily workflow from something that probably feels constantly overwhelming into something dangerously smart. We're going to do this by walking through a highly counterintuitive two-gear AI routine that the top 1% of performers are using right now to actually get smarter, faster. You see, most people are letting AI destroy their ability to think, essentially training it to become their own replacement. But we're going to learn how to use it backward to outsmart almost any situation.
But before we get to the solution, let's talk about the problem. 72%. According to a staggering study in the Harvard Business Review, that is how much time CEOs are wasting in meetings that simply do not move the needle. And honestly, we've all been there, right? That draining one-hour meeting that really only needed to be 15 minutes. It perfectly illustrates this core problem of wasted effort in our daily routines. But why do even the most accomplished leaders end up feeling trapped by this?
Well, it boils down to something called completion bias. It's basically a biological glitch where your brain is wired to seek an immediate dopamine hit from finishing absolutely any task on your plate. And because of this, we develop what's called priority blindness. Our brains literally trick us into treating a minor formatting task, like tweaking fonts in some internal email, and a $1 million strategy document as equally important. Why? Because we get roughly the exact same amount of dopamine for crossing either one off our to-do list. When everything feels like priority one, it means nothing actually is.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start by breaking down the completion bias trap. Then move into gear one of our routine with the DRG framework for intelligent laziness. After that, we'll shift into gear two, the intelligent gym for deep work. And finally, we'll wrap up with the mindset shift you absolutely need, the fool's advantage. Let's get right into it.
Starting with part one, the completion bias trap. When you're doing your morning task triage, you've got to actively fight that biological glitch we just talked about. Picture your daily to-do list split into two distinct curves. On one side, you've got curve one, the zone of laziness. These tasks have capped payoffs. Think about formatting slides that are going to be seen for barely 6 minutes, or internal emails or expense reports. The curve goes up and then just completely flatlines. Pouring extra effort in here yields absolutely nothing. But on the other side is curve two, the zone of obsession. These have uncapped payoffs. Things like customer interactions, product design, pricing models. Being just 1% better here solves 99% of your problems. Think about how Johnny Ive would obsess for months over the internal unseen components of the iPhone. Steve Jobs never stopped him because he knew that was absolutely curve two work.
Now, how you handle that first curve is absolutely crucial. There's this concept from the Nobel Prize-winning economist Herbert Simon called satisficing. It literally means satisfy and suffice. Stop when it's good enough. For your Zone 1 tasks, perfection is an absolute waste of your time. You really need to embrace being strategically lazy so you can save your energy for the tasks that actually matter.
Which brings us to part two, intelligent laziness and the drag framework. All right, so to clear out those capped payoff tasks, let's shift into gear one. Take a look at your morning list and ruthlessly apply these 4 letters to your AI. First up, D is for drafting. AI gets you from 0 to 1, so you aren't just staring at a blank page for emails or code. Sure, the first draft might be terrible, but it gets your brain moving. Next, R is for research. Let AI do the deep web crawling to summarize and extract competitive intel in 10 minutes instead of a week. A is for analysis. Have AI take the first pass at finding patterns in huge, unstructured data sets that our human eyes just miss. And finally, G is for grunt work. Tabulating, cleaning data, translating, reformatting, all that incredibly boring manual work. Just hand the whole shebang over to your AI.
But hey, here is the golden rule you absolutely must remember for your daily routine. Only apply drag to your curve 1 tasks. You'll probably find that a good 70 to 80% of your daily repetitive stuff falls right into this category. So be incredibly lazy here. But if a task requires human judgment, taste, intuition, or decision-making, that is your zone of obsession. Never delegate that to AI.
Moving on to part three, deep work and the intelligent gym.
Now, for those high-value curve two tasks, we're going to slow things down deliberately and shift into gear two. We really need to adopt a powerful metaphor here. Most people are out there using AI as a wheelchair for the mind. Think about it. If you sit in a wheelchair when you can still walk, eventually your legs atrophy and stop working. It's just like astronauts spending months in zero gravity. They can lose up to 20% of their muscle and bone mass simply because there's no friction. AI can act like zero gravity for your thinking. But the top 1%, they treat AI as their spotter, A spotter doesn't lift the weights for you. They stand next to you, they help you lift heavier, and they make sure you don't get crushed.
So this creates a really clear divide in how we approach our work. For information tasks, those drag framework tasks, use AI to remove friction. But for transformation tasks, things where you actually need to become smarter and more capable, you must use AI to add friction. Long-term intelligence isn't built through convenience, it's built through resistance.
So how exactly do we add that friction? It's all about progressive overload. The next time you've got a deep work task and need to master a complex concept, read it yourself first, then paste it into your AI and ask it to be your spotter. Tell it to apply progressive overload through these 4 steps. First, ask it to quiz you like a high school student. Once you've mastered that, up the resistance. Have it ask you questions like a college student. Then, increase the weight again. Grill me like you're interviewing me for an executive job. And finally, the ultimate resistance, challenge me like an irate boss who thinks I am entirely unprepared. Seriously, sweating a little bit while a chatbot intensely grills your strategy is exactly how you intentionally break down and rebuild your understanding. That's what forces massive intellectual growth.
And that brings us to our final section, embracing the fool's advantage.
To really make this 2-gear routine function properly, you need a massive mindset shift. Just look at this staggering chart. When Satya Nadella took over Microsoft back in 2014, the company's culture was incredibly toxic and political. Everyone was terrified to admit what they didn't know, and because of that, they completely missed the massive mobile and search disruptions. Nadella forced a total cultural reboot. He shifted the entire organization from a culture of know-it-alls to a culture of learn-it-alls. He literally gave the smartest people in the room permission to say, "I don't know," and to embrace a beginner's mind. And the result? A market cap explosion from $300 billion to over $3 trillion. And the neuroscience behind this is super fascinating. Your brain's ability to rewire itself, which is called neuroplasticity, doesn't kick in when things are easy. It only happens at the absolute edge of your ability. It happens when you're making errors, when you feel frustrated, uncomfortable, and frankly, a little bit stupid. If you aren't feeling at least somewhat foolish while using your intelligent gym, your brain isn't actually rewiring. Because the biggest obstacle to intelligence isn't ignorance, it's ego.
AI has just handed you the ultimate judgment-free training ground. You can bring a beginner's mind to your desk all day long. Pick a topic in your field that everyone assumes you already know, but deep down, you kind of know you don't. Ask AI the absolute most basic questions about it. The exact things you'd be terrified to ask your colleagues out of fear of embarrassment. AI isn't going to roll its eyes at you. Use the prompt, "Teach me like I am 10 years old." Ask it to simplify again and again. You might feel ridiculous at first, but having the courage to play the fool today is exactly what makes you the genius tomorrow. Every true master is a student for life.
So we've broken down how to separate your daily tasks, exactly when to be aggressively lazy using the drag framework, and when to deliberately add friction in the intelligent gym. Now I want to leave you with this final provocative question to apply right away. Looking at your to-do list right this second, what is one Curve 1 task you will drag today to save time, and what is one Curve 2 task where you'll put your ego aside and ask AI to be your spotter? Implement this 2-gear routine and just watch how quickly you transform your workflow. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.